Good evening, everybody. This is UCY.TV, and you are listening to live radio, The Boiler Room, for the next hour. I am your host, Jim Funke, and the guy in the chair over there on the East Coast is Mr. Lance Musser. Come in, Lance Musser.
Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, we have a clean connection.
All right.
Yeah, it's starting to rain a little bit again, so I don't know if Carl's going to talk or not, but he's still standing out in it.
Brimping.
Yeah. Taking a bath. He's just kind of shaking around.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is. I love having chickens out here, man. Getting average of two eggs a day now. Average of 2 eggs a day. So.
Oh, okay. Two. And I think that's, you said, or the person that was on the air the other day said that was normal.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking to prepper chicks. Yep. So yeah, we're all good. How's things going out there? You said you had some really good weather.
No complaints. I mean, nice weather compared to the last frigid days that we've had. So, I mean, it was mid 60s. Tomorrow will be high 70s and then back down to 60s and 70s and 60s for the next 10 days. I'm quite okay with that.
Yeah, somebody told me we're supposed to get a frost here in a couple of weeks again.
That's bullshit.
I hope not. I hope we don't. I don't want my flowers all dying off. I got a bunch of pretty flowers going on. The trees are all budding out and everything's turning green. And, you know, I want to get some garden stuff started and I don't want to have it frost on them. I know you can throw plastic and all that, but just don't
Everybody planted here and then had to bring them all in because they were worried about them freezing.
Yeah. So let's dive right into the Smokums Market Minute.
Well,
and find out what's going on Wall Street, because that's about what they're doing. They're stepping around. Everything's going up and down, up and down, up and down. What? Same as always, right?
Yeah, it's funny. Today, all the markets are up. Even the bond market is up.
But GLD took a hit. SLV took a hit. The papers
took a big hit today. I saw that. Couple things, points of interest. Wall Street bond dealers whipsawed on bearish Treasuries bet. So remember when they're betting against the U.S. government debt this year is turning out to be a fool's errand, because you remember how all the people have been talking about the crash that's imminent. I mean, we know, but there was like Manarino. I mean, he had almost, committed to it happening a couple weeks ago by putting all those puts on there. So, I mean, the article is talking about, you can't call this one just because everybody's, so wishy-washy on it.
Wishy-washy. That's a good word.
That's a good word. Property taxes, they're rising. The values are still consistently rising on the homes, even though there's a market that's not bearing them. That's going to be an interesting story to watch out too, because if the market crashes, the values go down, and then all these real estate taxes values will start going again down too, which isn't a good one.
No.
Interesting news story. U.S. to target Putin's personal $40 billion stash. Have you heard this one?
Yeah, I saw a blurb on it earlier. Just a quick one, but go ahead.
While the White House has continually threatened further sanctions against Russia for non-de-escalation, the specifics of the additional sanctions have been sparse. The White House on Friday refused to comment on reports that Russian President Vladimir Putin's personal wealth could be targeted if the West were to move ahead with additional sanctions over Ukraine.
Didn't he move all of his money into a bank in Russia, a Russian-owned bank? Didn't he do that last?
Well, apparently, according to this article, the Times of London reported Friday that he does have a reported $40 billion stashed in Swiss bank accounts. Putin's actual holdings are a tightly held secret, and the extent of his
gold bars
probably are difficult to estimate. But the threat of trying to freeze the Russian president's personal assets could have played a role in the deal brokered Thursday. This is because this article came out on Saturday, by foreign ministers from the U.S., Ukraine, Russia, and the European Union. Putin was asked why the U.S. can do whatever it wants and no one punishes them. And he said, the U.S. is certainly one of the world's leaders. At some point, it seemed that it was not the only leader and a unipolar system was in place. Today it appears that is not the case. Everything in the world is interdependent. Once you try to punish someone, In the end, you will cut off your nose to spite your face. So basically he's laughing at us, because he already knows that, any sanctions we do is just going to, bounce around and get our fragile economy a little bit worse.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody's already heard about another banker has bit the dust.
Number 28.
Belgium. Yeah, this time over in Belgium.
Him and his wife and a kid.
Yeah, it wasn't his kid. I think it was
his niece or his nephew or something.
Yeah, nephew and godson.
Ish.
So that's a sad one.
And they're trying to play it off as a murder-suicide, right? Like he capped the kid and then capped the girl and then capped himself.
No, they said
that's the article I saw.
Waiting. I don't know. I just saw the one I was just reading. It said they were somebody was waiting for them.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So it's
wow.
Stay tuned because they're getting more.
That's 28 plus 2 innocents. Actually, it's 29. Well, 28 and 3 innocents because we all keep forgetting about the reporter.
Yeah.
That took one for the team, right?
Yeah. And again, those are the reported ones.
Yeah. What else you got?
My last story, the King World News, which is where I broke that story, last week. There was actually, we talked about it before, Scott, Hyper Report and all the rest of them. He did another good podcast the other day. Legendary trader warned King World News that the stock market is set up to crash. Victor Sperando, who has been in the business for 45 years and has worked with famous individuals such as Leon Cooperman and George Soros. Another legend hedge fund manager, Paul Tudor Jones, said, Victor is gifted with one of the finest minds I know. No wonder he's compiled such an amazing record of success as a money manager. So he was the one that actually predicted the stock market crash of 87.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about it 1 month before it was happening. He laid out all the things and said, this is going to happen.
Yeah, look at this indicator, look at this indicator, look at this indicator.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody did. Well, lots of people were, but they were banking.
They asked him, you were interviewed in Barron's where you famously predicted the crash in 87. I'm not hearing from you that we're going to crash, but I'm hearing some warning signs from you. And this was his answer, and it's just a paragraph. You are set up, the stock market, to crash, but you need an impetuous. You need something to make it happen. 1987 was a much easier call, but here you've got manipulated markets. You don't have a free market, and that's very important.
That's exactly what Manarino's been saying for 5 weeks now.
Yep. And to be very honest to your listeners and readers, because I'm reading this to you, if I came into the business today, I would not have been nearly as successful as when I came into the business when we had relatively free markets. Let me give you an example. Janet Yellen, we all used Yellen.
The old Yeller.
Does her conference from the first Fed meeting that she's chaired and basically said that after QE ends, which is about December, she hinted 6 months later the interest rates would rise and the market sold off. 11 days later, she changes her mind and the markets responded to that. She basically said the employment situation is so bad that the Fed still needs to help it. So what do you have in this case? You have a market that is driven by the words of the Fed, which is exactly what they want.
Yep.
Now that works great on the upside.
Live and die in 24 hours.
But it does not work on the downside. In other words, downward guidance will cause extreme declines. They call it trickle down.
And upward guidance is they go into it with hesitance. They don't dump all their you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So, it just gradually works down, down, down as she keeps talking.
The higher the stock market goes, they believe people will spend, and that's good for the economy. Of course, that hasn't worked. It hasn't worked at all. The economy is growing at 2.2 from the low of June of 2009, which was 6 months after the real crash. So where's the recovery? This policy is a failure, and yet they don't change it. They keep doing the same things over and over again. Last quote, so it's going to end badly, but timing is very difficult because you have the power of an unlimited printing press that is manipulating equities higher indirectly through the printing of money that comes into the system at zero interest rates. Well said. And not much off the mark on there.
No,
so,
he's right on the money.
Yeah, he's right on the money. It's totally controlled. I mean, Manarino's been saying it. The Fed controls the market. And if they keep the stock market up, they fool the independents. In the sheeple, you know, we always talk about the sheeple. I was watching, and I finished my market minute, but headline news wasn't even headline news. It was PBS NewsHour. And did they have the Boston Marathon today instead of on tax day, or was I watching the interviews from last week?
No, I think it was today.
Okay, so it was today. They were interviewing people and about the beefed up security and everything else. And when I heard the comments, I just put my head in my lap and almost cried. Because they said, yeah, we see it's all beefed up, but if this is the price that we have to pay to feel secure, I'm all for it. And it was a group of people. You know, the extra dogs, no backpacks.
Yeah.
All the extra. So they were, you know, all the interviews were on all this extra security. And every single one of these sheeple said, if this is what it takes to be safe, I'm okay with it.
Right. Next thing they'll do, they'll have a big Lexan tunnel over the road so that nobody can even touch the runners. You know what I mean? Or they'll just have it live from on TV. You know, they'll have it broadcast from somewhere and they'll have it in a remote location that nobody knows about.
We are playing
it's ridiculous, man.
Directly into their playbook. I mean,
yes.
How much more of a control could they want? I mean, we're sitting there saying it's okay to go through all this now.
It's just ridiculous. Sheeple.
Ridiculous.
Whatever the government says. Okay. What else you got?
That's it.
That's it? All right.
It's abbreviated. It's a 1 hour show.
Yeah. We're going to jump over here and hit the videos real quick.
Chuck did drop me a good link.
Yeah, I saw that too.
For late, but I want to read up on it. I didn't get a chance to read it because he dropped right before we started. So I'll go into that Wednesday.
All right.
Because it did look like it was a little bit more in depth, but it looked very interesting.
We're going to hit a couple of stories that just hit the chat room too about Ebola broke through all the containment walls and is now in Italy, possibly.
Oh, that's.
We'll touch on that here in just a second, but we're going to go ahead and drop these videos. I'll let Scott have his 211. And did you watch Manarino today?
Nope.
He was okay. I think we'll throw about 5 minutes of him on, and then then we'll exit that. So
Deal.
Here's Scott.
I want to read it.
Whoopsie. Got to turn off the. Got to turn off the room. Damn, I don't know why I keep forgetting to do that.
You only do it the first one though.
Yeah, most of the time. All righty. Now here's Scott.
Hello, this is Scott and this is a Hyper Report. Today's report is sponsored by the free book Ramblings of a Madman. Here are the quotes for various items. First, attorney-client privilege. In a U.S. tax court decision, a person may, under certain circumstances, forfeit the afforded attorney-client privilege. Even though this has taken place in the tax court, if this is allowed to stand, this is a very real slippery slope to the end of the attorney-client privilege in the country. Next, IRS tracking. The IRS and other U.S. agencies awarded $450,000 in contracts to a license plate tracking company before Homeland Insecurity dropped a similar plan after it was made public. Could the IRS have been preparing for the day when people would be taxed by the mile? Next, 1 week. A new Gallup poll reveals that 14% of Americans could not last 1 week if they lost their jobs. In addition, 29% could not last a month and 26% could only last up to 4 months. Only 17% could last up to 1 year. This is another reason to get out of debt and have multiple sources of income. Next, 18 welfare and disability stats. Here are a few. 1. The U.S. government spent $3.7 trillion on welfare programs in the last 5 years. 2. In 1968, there were 61 full-time workers for every American on disability. Today, it is just 13. 3. 43% of immigrants that have been in the U.S. for 20 years are still on welfare. Next, vote fraud. Based on a North Carolina study, national voter fraud numbers in 2012 may have reached over 1 million. Needless to say, this large number impacts who wins and who loses in many elections. Based on this, is it any wonder that some elected officials are absolutely terrified about the idea of voter ID? Next, BLM atrocities. Obama is rewarding the BLM for their apparent horrific atrocities against cattle in Nevada by proposing $1.1 billion for fiscal 2015. From shooting and allowing the cattle to die from dehydration and stress to digging mass graves, this sounds familiar. Next, protect our children. Obama's advisor on Homeland Insecurity is urging parents to watch their children carefully. If their children are confrontational, it may indicate that they will become terrorists. If anything, this example makes it clear how Obama and his cabal think of others. Also, in regards to protecting children, South Carolina is the latest state to give the one-finger salute to the Common Core agenda.
Yay.
Finally, please prepare now for the escalating economic and social unrest. Good day.
17%. Only 17% of this country could last for a year on the financial means that they have at their disposal right now. Hope that makes you people pause for a minute and think you're one of those 17%. Because that's what we talk about every week here. Prepare.
You're assuming I couldn't go on long-term unemployment and get me an Obama phone and, whatever the other cards are. I can't, Swift cards or something. So.
Man, you're ashamed. You should be ashamed of yourself. Whoa. Hey, that's a really cool sounding ad, isn't it?
That was pretty cool.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Greg Menarito. How are you today? All right, everybody. It is Monday, April 21st, 2014. So what is going on here? Well, I want to talk about gold and silver first and foremost. Well, let me start with this. Today, the major indices, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, all closed higher. Nothing spectacular, but this is interesting for a lot of reasons.
Yes, it is.
And it plays right into why we saw the paper derivatives, I'm referring to the GLD, the SLV, take a hit today again. And it's kind of funny here. What the mainstream media is trying to do is this. They're stating that gold and silver are falling because of an improving economy. It's a major contradiction. I want you to think about that. Because if the economy were really doing well, you would expect the demand for gold and silver to go up, not go down. So whoever's writing these articles or producing these talking points is an imbecile. It's that simple. The reason why gold and silver took a hit today and last week as well is because of the Federal Reserve, something I talk about all the time. And I said last week the market would rise. It did. I said this week the market is going to rise. Today, the market, again, didn't do anything spectacular, but I expect it to rise here throughout the rest of the week because nothing matters anymore. The Fed has created a risk-on trade environment where fundamentals don't matter, forward guidance from these companies that are reporting earnings, because we're in earnings season right now, that doesn't matter. Top line, bottom line, whatever it is, don't matter. It's all about being on the long end of this market because the Fed is going to backstop it all by printing cash out of thin air, by distorting this market worse and worse, and that's why gold and silver are under pressure. It's that simple. But again, what does this mean? It's opportunity. It's such a simple concept, and I've talked about this so many times. You have to understand, if you can think of cash as just like a unit that just moves around from place to place in this market, so that's what we're getting now, is we're getting cash moving out of assets where it actually should be going and into things where it should not be going. That's the Fed. They've created this misallocation of funds. It's ridiculous. But again, we need to take advantage of this without any doubt. So, seriously, when I was watching, I forgot what channel it was. Maybe it was even CNBC this morning. They're talking about how gold and silver are under pressure because of an improving economy. It's asinine, and it makes no sense because you would expect the demand for these to be rising. So when you hear things like this, people, you really should just chuckle, laugh, call the station and say, whoever's reporting on this is a complete idiot. They have no idea what they're talking about. and they won't focus on the real issue here, and that is the financial monster that has been created by the Federal Reserve through this mechanism of money printing and asset misallocation from cash flying in places where it shouldn't be going and into other places. It's very convoluted, but it's that simple. It won't stop at all, I think, at least in the near future. This is what they need to do. They need to keep interest rates suppressed. Again, there is no taper, none. So whenever you hear that too about how they're cutting X amount of billion from the bond market, their bond purchases, it's nonsense. It's not happening. If it were, we would be in a rising rate environment. That's simple. People, this is seriously not rocket science from any perspective. It's very extremely simple of this whole thing. Just watch the movement of cash, period. Today, again, just talking about the movement of cash, again, we saw some cash leave the paper derivatives of GLD, SLV. The bond market was pretty much flat here. I think.
And he's repeating himself. So we'll slide out of that really easy and click off of that right there. Okay, so now we're going to jump into a completely different rabbit hole, and we're going to talk about the Ebola making it to Europe. I told you this was going to happen. I imagine everybody talking about this said it was going to happen. If this is real, if this is a real deal, then this is pretty scary. This is from shithitsthefanplan.com. Though officials at the World Health Organization are feverishly working to stop the spread of the Ebola virus in what is now 7 African nations. Wow, it's up to 7. I didn't even know that. I thought it was Guinea and the 2 bordering countries, Liberia and one other one. But okay, 7 now. Their efforts may be for naught. In Guinea, the hotspot for today's deadly contagion, government health officials have said that the outbreak is nearly under control, yet Reuters reports that the government planned to stop publicly releasing the death toll to avoid causing unnecessary panic. But
they're pulling a Fukushima on it. Is that what they're doing?
I guess.
Right out of their playbook.
Yeah, step on the press. Shut it.
Yeah.
Panic may be in order, though. Despite best efforts of emergency health workers, it appears that the virus may have crossed out of Africa into Europe. And here is the direct quote. The outbreak of Ebola virus in 7 West African countries has broken through all containment efforts and is spreading like wildfire, according to Christian Relief Group. Working in Guinea and Liberia, the number of confirmed infections jumped 15% in the last 24 hours. In addition, 40 illegal alien migrant workers from the outbreak area who came ashore in Pisa, Italy, are showing signs of Ebola infection and are being isolated. Oh, man. Because of fever and conjunctivitis, blood around the eyes. According to the World Health Organization, the strain of Ebola is entirely new, and although it is close to the Zaire strain, it is different, thus accounting for false negative test results for weeks. Those false negative results mean people who are actually infected with Ebola return to their families and neighborhoods to recover from what they believed was the flu or a case of food poisoning, only to spread Ebola further. The result has been a complete loss of containment of this Ebola outbreak. With the likely arrival of Ebola in Pisa, Italy, the European containment is now at severe risk. Italian officials deny the reports, but alternative media in the country suggests that this is the reason for a complete lockdown of a hospital in Pisa, where it is believed to have infected some 40 individuals already. Other reports trickling in from various sources like social media indicate the virus may have also appeared about 50 miles from Pisa in Tuscany. Alarmingly, a story that appeared about an outbreak on national news wires was reportedly removed by the Italian government for national security reasons, suggesting that there is more to the report than officials are willing to express.
National security.
Though they have denied that Pisa Hospital was on lockdown due to Ebola, they seem to be bracing for the possibility of a severe epidemic in Rome and Milan. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
I don't see how you could contain it. Now that the cat's out of that bag.
Mm-hmm. According to a Samaritan's Purse, a Christian relief group actively working with hospitals and health officials in Guinea and Liberia, what makes the Ebola so dangerous is that it can be transmitted through human-to-human contact and may take weeks for symptoms to even appear. With details lacking and health officials opting to keep reports of infection from the public, it's impossible to know exactly how far the virus has spread. As noted above, this new strain was not identified immediately. Thus, blood tests of people showing possible symptoms may have shown false negatives, even though the individual may have been carrying the virus. Okay, if Ebola has taken hold in Italy, then we can expect more reported cases all over the continent in coming weeks, with the real possibility that the virus could make its way to U.S. shores via hundreds of international flights arriving on a daily basis. It's understandable that government officials do not want to overreact and cause panic, especially insofar as global air travel is concerned, but because doing so would lead to a lockdown of airports worldwide. The panic would be unprecedented. As noted by Tess Pennington of Ready Nutrition, even if the public became aware that the pandemic was in progress, many would remain in denial about it, and such a prospect would remain oblivious to long-term repercussions. She notes that the effects of a pandemic would be swift and drastic, leading to social upheaval. Given the continued spread of the virus to numerous countries in Africa and now possibly Europe, we urge readers to remain vigilant and have at the very least their basic essentials in place. And 100 masks. I would suggest some silver water and maybe several rolls of duct tape to seal your house.
And bubble wrap.
Yes. The virus is incurable and believed to have a mortality rate of up to 85%, which is a lie. It is killing everyone that it infects. It is a mortality rate of 99%.
Huh.
It's spread outside of Africa. It's only a matter of time, perhaps several weeks before it becomes apparent in the developing nations. This is a very, very unsavory article that I'm reading right now, ladies and gentlemen.
What, Italy's not a developing nation? I mean,
in the United States, the CDC has issued a travel alert to airlines and set up emergency quarantine stations at domestic airports, though there is no specific guidelines in place at this time. If in the next few months we see Ebola popping up in North America, then we may have a serious problem on our hands. This is a developing report and is in no way conclusive. Official statements from the WHO, CDC, and European governments have yet to confirm Ebola's crossover into Europe or the United States. Updates will be provided as details become available. And again, that's from Shit Hits the Fan Plan. I'm going to drop that in chat again because Kate dropped it to us from Hecty. Excuse me. So I'm going to drop that back in there again. If anybody wants to read it. What are you talking about, Lance? Tell me.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at I went to the CDC's website and, just typed in. Yeah, it's here.
Oh, it is.
Oh, it's here.
Oh, holy shit. For the United States or for just Europe?
It is recent April 17th. It last updated.
Okay. 5 days ago.
Yeah. The Guinea Ministry of Health has announced a total of 203 suspect confirmed cases, including 129 deaths. Yeah. So it's, April 16th. Doesn't say anything about, No, it doesn't talk about Italy or anything like that. No, that
was just in the last couple of days, so I probably wouldn't have it.
Gotcha.
Oh, man. Okay.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's
scary.
That's pretty scary. I got a couple other stories I want to hit on really quick. A couple things that I found earlier today that kind of took me by surprise. One of them is this, out of the Free Patriot, and I'll drop this in chat as soon as I'm done with it too. The title of this is, and I dropped this to you earlier, 5-year-old missing for 3 months before notice has been found dead along the side of a highway. This is in Massachusetts, everybody. A child's body was found on the side of a highway in central Massachusetts Friday and was later identified as Jeremiah Oliver. The remains were discovered about 9 a.m. by police 40 feet off of U.S. Highway 190 near Sterling. The body was wrapped in a blanket and packaged inside what appeared to be a suitcase. The body was height and weight matched Jeremiah Oliver and a 5-year-old boy who has been missing for 7 months. An autopsy was able to confirm the match on Saturday. It appears to be a homicide, Worcester County District Attorney Joseph Early said. Jeremiah Oliver was last seen by relatives in September, but was not reported missing until December. Kind of strange, isn't it?
Weird.
When his sister told the school that she and her siblings were being abused at home. That's the only reason that his death got out, because his sister complained to the school about being beaten at home. Oliver's sister claimed the last time she had seen her brother, he had a wound to his hand and he was covered in blood. She stated that her mother, Elsa Oliver, was worried that he would die from the wound. Social workers had been monitoring the family for the past 3 years, but after the boy's disappearance, they launched an internal investigation that led to the firing of 3 agency employees. Officials said that the required monthly home visits were not being conducted. Elsa Oliver, 28, and her boyfriend, Alberto Sierra, 22, have both been in custody since December and have remained primary suspects through the whole case. They are already being faced with multiple charges, including assault with a dangerous weapon, a belt, 2 counts of reckless endangerment of a child, and 2 counts of being an accessory after the fact of a felony, and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. An anonymous tip came into police claiming that the mother's boyfriend had something to do with the alleged abuse. According to a Mail Online source, that person came forward and stated that Sierra was a bully and would intimidate those around him, routinely becoming irate as he made death threats on many occasions. During the initial investigation after Jeremiah was reported missing, police had raised suspicion after it was found out that Elsa had a butterfly tattoo with the date of September 25th, 2013, written below it. Authorities contacted local tattoo artists hoping that Elsa may have shared why the date was significant. It's unclear as to whether they recovered any information regarding the tattoo. So evidently that was the day she killed her kid. After the discovery of Jeremiah's body, his father, Jose Oliver, who lives in New Britain, Connecticut, was contacted over the phone and given the news just moments before police went public with the information. He said, "I don't feel relief. I'm disappointed." The mother and her boyfriend are now being held on bail, $100,000 for the mother and $250 for Sierra. 3 additional people have been charged with interfering with a criminal investigation and misleading police in the connection with the case. What in the hell is wrong with people in this country?
It's only an hour show. We don't have enough time.
I popped across this today on Facebook, and I was like, what? He'd been missing for 3 months before they even reported it. And it would only came out. It only came out because his sister was, was telling
he
us.
must not have any friends or anything, because I know one of my friends I hadn't seen.
He was 5. He was 5.
True. Wow.
Just makes me cry inside, dude, Mm. I can't understand what people are thinking. There's another story here, and I'm going to go grab it now. I've actually lost the page that I was going to read off of, but I'm sure you saw it too. It was on Facebook quite a bit. Everybody out there might have seen it, about the old man that called for an ambulance for his wife, and the cops wound up showing up and beating his ass.
I didn't hear that.
Hang on a second. Let me see. Talk about something real quick. Let me see if I can find this article.
I was just reading the article. Department of Homeland Security, if they already didn't have enough ammunition, they've decided to place an order for 25 million 12-gauge shotgun shells after an explosion at a shotgun shell producing facility in Tennessee. And then there's that fedbizops.gov that the Potter blog always likes to put up there. And sure enough, shotgun ammunition, slugs, it's an add-on to the original slug and buckshot ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an add-on to the original order that was placed on September 11th and updated April 11th of this year. Interesting.
Very.
Well, you know they don't need any more bullets. I got enough to last them 20 years for that.
So now it's shotgun shells.
25 million, according to this fedbiz.ops.
Yeah, that came out. I saw that on Potter Blog earlier. I was going to talk about that here in a little while too. We can go ahead and jump on that real quick if you want.
Yeah.
It's like, 15 million, slugs and 10 million of, birdshot or of, buckshot. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they're going to put down some firepower. That's, slugs, what is that? That's a full ounce of lead coming at you.
Yeah. And it's a May 23rd, response date. So they need it by May 23rd.
Ooh.
It's probably just to practice. All the better to protect you with, my people.
Yeah. I'm sure that's it.
But yeah, that's where this is coming from, actually, the Potter blog, now that I see the link here.
Okay. So here's, man, these articles are just very, very, okay. It's just very short. So here's the one I was talking about. Elderly man calls ambulance for wife with dementia. Cops show up and beat him. It seems more and more these days that if you think loved ones in danger in America, calling the cops should be your absolutely last possible resort. Missourian Albert Brashears recently called for an ambulance because of his elderly wife, who suffers from dementia, had endured an episode and knocked a window out of their home. According to the ABC affiliate KSPR 33, and unfortunately for Brashears, the cops showed up before the ambulance did. This is a quote from him. The wife and I were standing about here, and then that's the window she knocked out. I was standing here holding her hand, and she was waving and hollering help, Brashears said. When police got there, police car drove up. He bailed out, ran over, and knocked me down. He told me to get up, and I told him I couldn't. That's when Brashears said police got aggressive. First thing I know, they grabbed me, threw me out there on the gravel. One of them sat down on my back, and the other one sat down on my head. They were trying to get handcuffs on me. I told them I can't get my hands up. I have no objection to being handcuffed, said Brashears. By then, the paramedics had arrived. Brashears said that he and his wife were taken to the hospital. A doctor looked him over. He dug gravel out of his head and sewed him back up. Who are these cops? Who do they think they are? Who exactly do they think they're serving and protecting? It's as if they're under the impersonation or the impression that their job on every call is to show up at an address and either beat or tase someone or shoot someone without actually ascertaining what's even going on first. So this is, that he goes into some other stories that he reported on. So all these stories that I found on this are very, very short. So I'm going to go ahead and click this link for KSPR and see if they have anything else on it. They might even actually have a video. But what do you think? He calls his wife, an ambulance because she punched a window out of their house and I evidently cut her hand or something. And, the cops show up and kick his ass.
They got to feel like everybody's out to get them if they're coming in being so brutal right away. I don't know.
I think that's what they're trained.
I was going to say they have to be trained to do this. They're not coming in. I think a lot of the cops are good cops. I just don't believe that they're all like that.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a video on this, but evidently not.
I do like your critter mic going on in the background. You got some pretty songbirds out there chirping.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, man. It's been gorgeous here all day, even though the clouds have been moving in and out and it's been raining off and on. But the birds are just beautiful. Yeah, the weather's just outstanding. Yeah, and I heard the chickens bucking a minute ago as I was talking. No, I don't see them standing out there now. They must have went inside to roost up. Yeah, even the article Even the article on KSPR is very, very short, too. They did say his wife's in the hands of professional care outside of Humansville. He's working to get her help a little closer to home. He's also getting an attorney and plans to sue, so that's good.
And they'll settle with him.
Yeah, but then it's not the state that pays; it's the taxpayers that pay. You know what I mean? Mm. I think that if you get a judgment against a police department, it should have to come out of their insurance policy, and I think their insurance should go up, and you should be able to sue the cop individually, and he should have to pay out of his pocket, or they should all have to carry some kind of liability insurance to be a cop. You know, if you put a badge on your chest and you carry a firearm and a taser, you should have to have some insurance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some kind of liability insurance or a bond, if you will.
You know, I had to have one when I was doing construction. I had to have one when I was driving a semi. When I owned my own semi, I had to have insurance on my loads and stuff.
We're all bonded. Yeah. As mortgage people, we're all bonded in case we do something wrong. They come back and sue us.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that's very, very pertinent nowadays. Because these stories, I mean, we're finding them by the dozens every week, you know? Well, cops going out of control and kicking the shit out of people for no reason, busting in the wrong door and shooting people.
Hey, man, it's all about systematically letting people feel like their rights are being taken away and controlled. And it's no different than that First Amendment area out there in the Bundy thing. You know, the First Amendment area is from the north of Mexico to the south of Canada. So that's our First Amendment area.
It's 100 miles in now, brother.
Well, true, but let me rephrase that. But still, I mean, it goes along with the police stuff that you're talking about. It's just systematically conditioning us to accepting it. Just like those sheeple at the Boston thing says, well, if this is the price we got to pay to be safe.
Bullshit. I don't need anybody to save me from anything. I can take care of myself. I can take care of myself. I don't need the government to save me from a goddamn thing. That's the way I see it. You know what I mean?
I do.
I know you think the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know, I know you don't like Ron Paul, you don't like all the politicians, but I mean, one of the quotes he's attributed with, the government does not need to know more about what we are doing. We need to know more about what the government's doing.
That's right. All those cameras need to be pointed at DC.
Yes. Not the other way around.
That's right. And I like the meme on Facebook that has everybody in Congress wearing their suit coats logos with all their logos on them as to who they're getting paid by.
The Supreme Court has a meme.
That's it. Yeah. So it's getting out of control in this country, man. I don't understand, you know, why people aren't completely flipping out. I mean, they did in Albuquerque. I don't know if whatever became of that. I don't think anything happened. I don't think, you know, I know there's some people that quit that were on the city council. They said, we can't sit here and lie to you and tell you that we're controlling these cops because we're not. Right. They do whatever the hell they want. And they walked off their jobs. So, you know, I don't know if things ever actually came to a head there or not, but all the media stopped talking about that.
It's a non-story.
They all switched over to Bundy. Mm-hmm. And I think that might have been part of the distraction too, because Albuquerque PD was getting ready to get their asses handed to them by the public, just like the BLM did down there.
Yeah, Harry Reid is a
scumbag. Harry Reid.
I mean, when I heard those quotes when he was doing the interviews and calling all those people out there that were standing up against BLM, domestic terrorists.
Yeah, so are your kids now if they stand up against you.
We're a nation of laws. You need to obey the law and everything else. I mean, fuck you.
Harry, how about you kiss my ass?
It's not a real law. I mean, you're making up shit as you go along.
Yeah.
Come on.
You and your taking bribes. I think they caught you dead to rights taking bribes, didn't they? Harry Reid.
If these are the best and brightest that we have,
we're in trouble.
That we could pull from 330 million people.
No. These are the people with the most money. These are the people with the most money that can buy the most votes.
You're right.
These are the people selected, not elected.
Hillary Rom, 2016.
Stop. I don't want to vomit on the air. Yeah, then they get away with, look, okay. U.S. unleashes 3 days of drone strikes on Yemen, kills 55 people.
Yeah. And the most disturbing thing I've heard about drones is, I think the story you read was either on last week's After the Last Cup, and I wasn't on it, but I was listening to it, and I almost called in because it was pissing me off. And you guys mentioned
piss you off? No way.
No, the story.
Yeah.
But about these drones falling over like a school here and everything else.
Yeah.
Dude, why are these drones flying around here? Why?
Oh, it's just testing. They're just, it's just testing runs for the pilots and training, and yeah, don't worry about it though. I mean, we got the cameras live and everything, and recording everything just like normal, like we're doing over in Afghanistan, but we're flying over your neighborhood because it's training. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Keep walking.
Well, like even teenage kids are using
don't worry about
drones now. Remember I sent you that video, kids walking along the ocean front with a drone flying
along, filming.
Yeah. And he had a little, handheld remote control following the drone.
They got ones now you can just put a watch on. It's like a watch, a little wristband or whatever.
Yeah.
And you just turn it on and it'll follow you around all day long and record your whole day.
Unreal.
Just tracks that watch. Wherever that watch is sitting, that drone's watching it. It's just creepy, man. It's just, and it's programming. They're getting everybody used to it. Hey, it's cool, man. Don't worry about it. Drones fall out of the sky every once in a while. If it hits your kid, sorry. But it happens. Don't worry about it. Shit happens. Just don't worry about it. That shit
happens in Iraq. That shit happens in Afghanistan. That shit happens in the Middle East. That's not supposed to happen here in the U.S.
It happens in Pennsylvania too. See? It happens in Pennsylvania.
Who are the domestic terrorists? Really?
You. God damn it. Me. If you're not a domestic terrorist, if you're not on the list, everybody,
should be ashamed.
You should be ashamed of yourself. If the NSA doesn't have a file on you, then you are part of the problem.
Yeah, I'd agree with that statement.
So there, take that,
Yep.
stuff it in that little bowl and smoke it. I enjoy it, and I wear it with pride. I'm gonna get a domestic terrorist t-shirt. I'm gonna get somebody to make me a domestic terrorist t-shirt, and I'm gonna wear that fucker everywhere I go until it wears out. Harry Reid said, "I'm a domestic terrorist." I should patent that really quick before I do it.
You should. That's a good one. I like it. Buy a printing press and make them yourself. That's a good one. Harry Reid says,
I'm a domestic
terrorist.
That's right.
I'm a domesticated terrorist.
No, pass me my fluoride.
I'm actually getting a water cooler. We have one at work. It's about the size of a golf bag. It's pretty small.
Nice.
And it's got hot water. It does the reverse osmosis and it hooks right up to a tap line. I'm like,
the reverse osmosis, let me tell you though, that removes all the good minerals and stuff out of your water too. It does.
Oh, really?
Yes, it does. So you're going to get demineralized water out of that.
But it doesn't have fluoride.
No, that's true. But it also doesn't. So you'll have to take supplements is what I'm saying. You're going to have to go get the one-a-days or whatever. Because you won't be getting the minerals and stuff. Or start cooking on cast iron, because usually that's what you're going to get out of tap water is iron and some other minerals too, but,
I cook on cast iron. I'm a big cast iron fan now.
Right on. But, reverse osmosis does. You can Google that. It's worth the Google. It removes all the minerals and stuff. So it's almost like distilling it.
Interesting. Okay.
Let's see what else we got. We got 10 minutes left.
Well, while you're looking at that, since you brought up cast iron, it gave me an idea of a recipe I can just throw out for you guys.
Oh, right on. Do it.
I saw this on my cast iron group. I think I sent you the link to it in Facebook. But you get a cast iron skillet, pretty hot, and you line the bottom of it with big chunks of rock salt. And then you drop your steak on top of the salt, and then cook it for 3-4 minutes on each side on top of the salt. And apparently the heat transfers through the salt up into the meat, and then
ooh, nice.
And it's supposed to be the best.
Nice. Okay. That really does sound good. I'm going to try that.
Mm-hmm.
I got very coarse sea salt. I might try that with.
That's what you're supposed to use. Coarse sea salt.
Yeah. Okay. Here's one I wanted to hit on since yesterday was 420 Easter, Ishtar.
Mm-hmm.
At least 9 dead and 32 injured in Chicago. Easter weekend shooting started around Friday. This is the utopia that Rahm Emanuel has designed since he left the administration of Barack Obama. 9 people have been killed and a further 32 injured in weekend shootings in Chicago, which started on Friday afternoon, lasted until Monday morning. 5 of the injured are children. The kids were victims of drive-by shootings in the city's southern Park Manor district. A group opened fire from a car. Oh, boy. However, police did not confirm the witness claims. My mom ran over to us. Let's see. I thought it was firecrackers. Saw people running, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Okay. Hospital authorities said 2 separate institutions reported that an 11-year-old was in critical condition and another girl was seriously injured. 2 other teenage girls and a boy were listed as being in stable condition. A further shooting took place at an Easter party in western Chicago suburb and another in central Humboldt. The kids should be able to come into their community without worrying about violence. It needs to stop, said Christina Sanders, a witness. No shit. Why don't you go tell Rahm? At least 9 deaths resulted from the shootings, which took place across the city. 1 double homicide involving 2 teenagers, a 16 and an 18-year-old who had apparently been involved in a Facebook-based spat. Jesus, people. Both suffered gunshot wounds to the head. 2 of the other deaths took place on Sunday morning. A Cook County correctional officer shot his wife, who was a police officer herself, to death inside their home before he committed suicide. 2 further people died in a car chase after being shot, or after shootout in the West Side's Little Village neighborhood. A 33-year-old died immediately at the scene, while a 19-year-old died from his injuries in a hospital. Chicago Tribune reported that police believe the culprit was the occupant of an orange or yellow Hummer, which fled the scene of the crime shortly after the shooting. Subsequent reports stated that a car of the same description was on fire nearby in a nearby alley and believed to have belonged to a relative of one of the victims. Other deaths involved a 43-year-old man who suffered multiple gunshot wounds. His body was recovered from an alley on West Florney. 19-year-old and a 20-year-old were also shot dead one Friday and one Saturday. Nobody's been taken into custody for any of these shootings, according to police. Since the beginning of the year, 288 people have been shot to death in the city of Chicago. In 2013, there were more than 2,100. That is ridiculous. That is a democratic city for you people. Now, I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican, but I can tell you that that is the liberal utopia that they want for all of us.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely, man.
Out of that story that you just read, how many of those people do you believe were law-abiding citizens?
I venture to guess not very many, but still.
That went and registered their guns and...
yeah, I'm sure they all registered for Obamacare, too.
Okay. So maybe we should put a little bit more focus on legal guns instead of the law-abiding citizens, which is what all this hubbub is up about now. It's total crap.
I think everybody over the age of, 18 should be able to carry a pistol. If they ain't got no big scratch on their record or anything like that, they should be able to arm themselves. Maybe I was born too late. Maybe I should have been born back in the 1500s,
At least the 1800s. I was born a century too late also.
I don't know. I just believe that if somebody's breaking into your house, man, you shoot the fucking guy and you don't have to worry about him breaking into anybody else's.
That's
true. What I mean?
That's true.
Thief is a thief is a thief. And there's a bunch of them up on Capitol Hill. But anyway, I digress.
Which is why your anarchy system won't work, because people can't be trusted to do the right thing by each other. If they could, your anarchy system would work wonderful.
Well, this system ain't working too well either. You know, because if you want to talk about law and order, it's for sale.
I don't believe that the world's population that we have, any system works.
No.
So
let's try anarchy for a little while, man. And, you know, we gave everything else a shot. Let's just try it for a little bit. Come on. Do I got to twist your arm? Come on.
We might get to try it.
I think so.
That Ebola or whatever it is gets around. There'll be enough people knocked out from that. You know, their goal is to reduce the population to 500 million.
Yeah. Yep. Ebola would do it in a minute.
It would do it in this year.
Yep. So let's end on that. I want to tell everybody again, go get yourself some stuff to prepare for this outbreak if it's headed for the United States. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying that it's not where it's supposed to be. It's traveling across borders. It's killing everybody it comes in contact with.
The number of direct flights from Africa to the United States, I wouldn't be concerned with, but the number from Italy to the United States
from
is
Europe,
a bit more concerning. Yes.
And all those countries are little tiny, and those people cross those borders like driving to the supermarket. You know what I mean? So just go get yourself some M100s. Keep a stock of disinfectant stuff. You know, just do it. And if you got the opportunity to get your ass away from a big city, do that too.
Yeah, and according to the CDC, make sure you don't play around in the blood, stool, or saliva of anybody that looks deathly ill.
Yeah, please don't poop play.
Don't
poop play. That's not good for you anyway.
Don't do that.
All right, man. Last 60 seconds. What do you got?
Peace and love. You know, spring is here. Just be happy. As
no kidding.
Farrell says, just be happy.
Temperatures are breaking. All the trees are starting to bud out. Everything's getting spring fresh. Go out and enjoy yourselves, people.
And when it's hot this summer, before you say, man, it's too hot, just remember how damn cold it was this winter.
Mm-hmm. Don't wish it upon yourselves.
No doubt.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday. Turboville's next. I think there's a Primer Time replay or Prepper Chicks, one of the two. Then Anti-Media Radio. Nick Barnaby. Thanks, Lance. Beware of that reverse osmosis, man. See you Wednesday, people. UCY.